Sorry about the horrific blinding light behind me. I was um playing through Sea of Thieves. I downloaded Sea of Thieves again recently, and 117 gigs, by the way, 117 gigs, um, which I know is like not the biggest file size out there, but that game should not be 117 gigs. But maybe that's just my opinion. Anyway, I was downloading it, and because I was talking to my brothers about pirate games, and we had a big long discussion about pirate games, and we grew up playing Sid Meier's Pirates. Now there were two Sid Meier's Pirates, or three Sid Meier's Pirates. The one that we played was from 2004, which was like a more fully realized version of the original one, which is like on a Commodore or something. It was old, but this one was on 2004. We played it on our PC back in the day, and um, I still hold true that while I don't think that game is perfect by any stretch, that Sid Meier's Pirates is the best pirate game that we've ever had. Um, I've played, I'm not going to pretend I've played every pirate game ever made, but I've played Sid Meier's Pirates. I played Black Flag, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which I feel like doesn't really count as a pirate game. It has ships in it, and you are a pirate. The setting is piratey, but it's not a pirate game. It's not about pirating, the pirate experience of pillaging and plundering and sailing the Caribbean or the Seven Seas and doing all manner of those sort of things. It's a little more, well, I mean, it's an Assassin's Creed game, so it has that sort of different narrative. But um, I played, and most recently I was just playing Sea of Thieves. It's funny because I remember Sea of Thieves was one of the first games. Oops, I keep punching my desk. Sea of Thieves was one of the first games that I followed, like before its release. I remember when Rare announced it. I don't even remember when it did. I don't remember when that game came out properly. That game came out 2018. Oh, I remember following it from the moment it was announced. Whatever year that was when it was properly announced, I remember following it pretty readily. And it came out, and people had mixed feelings about it, and I didn't even have like a rig I could run it on. I didn't have a computer or anything, or an Xbox that I could run it on. So I never played it, but I remember being disappointed because I heard a lot of folks say they didn't much care for it. And then as time went on, it sort of grew in popularity. I feel like in general, like the sentiment towards Sea of Thieves sort of like there's a lot of very committed fans of it. And so a couple of years back, I downloaded it and played it with my brothers a bit, and we were disappointed. And then I stopped. I haven't played it for a couple of years now, maybe even like 3 or 4, and picked it up again just today. And I played it for like a good 40 minutes, and I don't. It's not for me. It's not for me. And I'm sure there are people who love it. And in fact, I know there are people who love it because I went on forums and I was trying to see why people loved it. And it's not for me. I think that I don't like live service games in general. I don't play any live service games. The only live service game I've ever really played was Destiny 2 a bit. Mostly again because my brother and I wanted to play it together. But um, I just I had like a sinking feeling the moment I booted this game up. It said season 18, and then it was like, do you want to be a new pirate, or do you want to have a new pirate? You're gonna need a new pirate license or whatever it's called. And I was like, oh cool, how do I get that? Clicked in it, immediately opened up an in-game shop, and I was like, I paid money for this game. I didn't get this game for free. This wasn't even a Destiny 2 type situation where Destiny 2 became free, right? This is like, or Fortnite or anything. This is a game I paid money for. And they're anyway, I was annoyed by that, which that's a whole other topic, the live service thing. That's something else. But I was like, all right, fine. Let's jump into my old save, and see what's what. And I hopped in, overwhelmed by all of the new content stuff. That's something that okay, you know what? Actually, I'm going to talk about live service games. Something that I really, 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 really don't like about live service games is if you are late to the party, if you don't play that game right when it comes out and you're not on top of things every single time, you join late. You join a couple years late, season 12 or season 7, right? And then you jump in, and it's like new crossover, new, join the this rage, and you're like, I don't even know how to play the game. I don't even know what I'm doing. And so I was so overwhelmed by those sort of things, I, and that's just something that I didn't like about this. But I got into the game, and I know that this game is a game you're supposed to play with friends, and I have played it with friends, and I do understand that it is a game. It should be a multiplayer game. When you play it by yourself, it is not the best experience. So I get that. That said, I still wanted to experience it a bit by myself and kind of analyze the gameplay loop and stuff. And I jumped into an open server by myself, but an open server, and I walked around and tried to figure out what to do. I found a couple bounties and or like a treasure hunting thing. I said, "Oh, cool, let's go hunt down some treasure on this island on the other side of the map." So I and I'm sure I did some stuff wrong. I bet there's some Sea of Thieves uh, aficionados who are like, "No, no, you fool! You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to take these contracts." And I get it, like, you know, and I really don't want to just endlessly hate on this game because there's a lot I like about that. We'll get there, but um, I I got the contract to go get this treasure. Um, and I said, "All right, let's go." And I set sail by myself on my little sloop, and I'm sailing, and I don't think I saw a single other ship out there. Not a single human ship. It was very lonely, which, again, I'm playing by myself. That's fine, right? I chose that. I will say I was kind of bummed that I did not see a single. I was scanning the horizon. I didn't see a single ship. And it was a long voyage there and back. Um, and I get there, I get to the island. I have my little map with an X on it. I had it was kind of fun to try and figure out where it was on the island just based on, where I am on the island looking at. I like that they don't make it too easy for you to try and find the treasure, but it's not particularly difficult. I find the treasure. I kill 2 skeletons. Get the treasure, carry it to my boat, and go, okay, well, time to head back. So I slowly head back, don't encounter any other people. I get back to the main island, and I sell and I have this box, this thing that I've now, I journeyed like a total of like 40 some odd minutes to go get this thing and come back. And I give it to the person, and I get 200 I give $200 or coins. 200 to buy a ship in that game. You need like 350,000, and I got 200 coins from that one chest. And I immediately just paused the game and I went, "Oh no, I don't want to do this. I'm not interested in this. This isn't fun, and I want it to be fun. And I'm sure that there are ways to optimize it and make it fun. Maybe you hit a bunch of contracts on the way out, so that you hit a bunch of different islands, and that's the fun part. Because then there's the risk of, oh, now I've got all these treasure chests and bounties on my boat, and I'm going to. And what if another pirate ship comes and gets me?" But the thing is, I didn't even see another pirate ship. I didn't. And if you like Sea of Thieves, more power to you. Really, really, I wanted to like it. I really wanted to like it. I was a follower of it, an ardent follower of it for so long, and then to be, I don't know. It's like it felt very similar to Sea of Thieves, or not Sea of Thieves. Obviously, it felt similar. It felt different or similar to No Man's Sky, where it was like I booted up this game and I suddenly realized that there was no real reason for me personally to play this game. I was getting nothing out of this. Um, Now, that said, there are some things that I think Sea of Thieves does very well. I think Sea of Thieves has the best looking ocean in any game that I've seen. Best looking ocean, best feeling ocean. When you're on your ship cresting those waves, and the way that, like, when a wave peaks up and crests itself, you can see that it's lighter and the light's going into it, and it's like it's got this more bright turquoise, but then the wave, the water that's more still is darker, and I think it looks phenomenally good. It's so good. Maybe that's where all the 117 gigs went into, is just making the water look good. um I guess. But and the moment to moment ship sailing, especially when you have people with you helping you out, is stupendously fun. Trying to navigate rocky shoals and stuff, and you've got one person calling the shots and one person directing the sail and pulling it up and down, and someone else on anchors and whatever. That is really enjoyable. But the problem is that none of that is enough for me. Again, for me, maybe it's enough for other people. Maybe some people just get a total blast out of sailing, and that's great. That's awesome. It's not enough for me. I did not find sailing to be compelling enough to make me want to. Sorry, I just saw my cat across the room is going into the dresser. Well, um, what are you doing? She's a mole. She's a mole. I've never seen a cat who likes to burrow as much as this one. If I'm laying on my bed, she'll come up, and if I lift up the blankets, like I've got the blankets on me, and I lift them up, and she goes, whoop, and she just like slides in and just goes all the way down. She's a little weirdo. Anyway, um, Sea of Thieves, right? I One of my biggest issues and something that I bounce off a lot of games with is if there's no sense of progression, I personally have a hard time getting invested in a game. And that's something that Sea of Thieves does not have. It does not have progression. It really doesn't. I don't count cosmetics as progression. It has a lot of cosmetics, but it's not progression. There's no gameplay progression. There's no difference. And I know fundamentally that was one of the things they were trying to do was it's a live service game. It's an open game, right? Anyone can hop in and they're at the same level as any other player. You have 1 hour, you hop in, you are at the same level, not of skill, but the same, you have the same access to the same things that someone who's been playing for like 100 hours or 1,000 hours has, right? And that's what makes it, a kind of a free exploring multiplayer game. I don't much care for games like that. I realized it was one of the reasons why I was so turned off by Destiny was like there is a progression sort of with like the power levels, but you're always match made. Anyway, that's a whole other can of worms. But it's one of the reasons that I kind of fell off Destiny also with I just didn't care about the progression. I didn't find it to be meaningful or enjoyable. And again, if people enjoy games like that, just fine without the progression. That's totally great. It's just not for me. I like to play games where I feel like there is an arc, I suppose. And I notice this about myself, and it's something that I kind of get frustrated by myself is that I have a hard time playing games just for fun. Like if I'm going to sit down and play like any sort of arcade type game, a game that's a sit down, you play it once. That's fun. I tend to do that like once. There's a lot of times where I'll be like, oh sweet, a new. I don't know. Like I'm having a hard time thinking of anything. I played Ultimate Chicken Horse. There we go. Ultimate Chicken Horse. Fun party game. I don't think I'm ever really going to play it again unless someone's at a party is going to recommend it or like pull it up. Because it just isn't the type of game that is enjoyable to play for me because there's no sense of progression. I love Super Smash Bros. And I still enjoy Super Smash Bros. But when I boot up that game and you start with a small roster of characters, I play it a ton, and then as soon as I get the full roster of characters, I taper off immediately. I stop playing because I feel like I've progressed. I feel like I finished my arc, as it were. Risk of Rain 2, I've been playing. I love Risk of Rain. I have many hours in that game, and it's a tremendous game. It's something that I still play off and on, but I still do. But, the moment that I unlock all of the skills for one of the survivor characters, or I get all the skins or whatever, I get all the items, I taper off. I notice this about myself. I taper off. I have a hard time sticking with a game unless there is some sort of progression-based system where you can see a noticeable, like, very clear change, and whether it's in the story or in the character evolution or in the skills that you have or loadout, whatever. And again, and I think that's something that turns me off of Sea of Thieves so much is it's just cosmetic. And maybe maybe I would be more invested in this game if if I played it with friends all the time. If I play it with a bunch of friends, then I'm more invested in getting the fun cosmetics because someone else can see it. But if it's just me, I don't really care, right? Anyway, that was a long-winded thing. I was initially going to just make this video and talk about pirate games, so we're gonna jump back to that. Talk about Sid Meier's Pirates. Sid Meier's Pirates came out in 2004. For anyone who doesn't know about it, it is Sid Meier is the creator, or he's worked on the Civilization games. I don't know if he still works there. I don't think so. But he's a bit of a legend in the gaming history because he kind of pioneered, and he was a big part of the simulation kind of games, the games that are strategy and stuff like that. So Sid Meier's Pirates is a game where you play as like a privateer and you sail around the Caribbean and you do pirate things. You can plunder villages and towns. You can get accrue a fleet, of pirates to follow you, and you upgrade your ships. You get married. You chase down your lost family who's been kidnapped by the evil Baron Ramondo. Um, and there's a bunch of things that you do. Um, and I still think it's the best pirate game that we've ever had. That said, I don't think it's a perfect game. In fact, I'm not even sure if I would say it's a great game. Certainly not by today's standards. If you boot it up and play it, you see a lot of limitations. But there's something that it captures that I don't think any other pirate game does, and that is the full sort of unyielding freedom that piracy is supposed to be. And that game has a very wide breadth, not a lot of depth. You can get married to someone, but it's hardly a marriage. When you rescue your family members, you get one cutscene with them, and then you never see them again. It doesn't really actually have any bearings on the plot. There's not really a plot. It's a very, very wide game, not a very deep game. And it's very easy to min-max it. It doesn't take very long to go from nobody to the number one pirate in the world, if you know what you're doing. So it's but what compelled me again about it is that even though it's not a deep system, it's so broad, and it captures that feeling of the Caribbean that I I get when I watch the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, right? That feeling of like unyielding freedom, right? And I love that. I think that's so delightful, and that's something that bums me out about Sea of Thieves is I feel like you cannot have pirates without the oppressors, right? I feel like pirates are born from the oppressors, whether the oppressors are justified or not, right? So in Sid Meier's Pirates, there are the Dutch, the Spanish, the French, and the English. And those are the big factions, right? And they're constantly going at war with each other, or trading with each other. Systematic stuff is going on in the background, or different like settlements and towns will get captured by raiding parties, all these sorts of things. But they're always going at each other, and you can kind of help one out, or you can just be a pirate and pillage all of them, right? But I think what's so cool about the pirate thing is that like you are the outlaw, you are the pirate, you are the one who is living a different life from the way that society is trying to go. And that's something that I don't like about Sea of Thieves is that everyone's pirates. It's the Sea of Thieves, right? And everyone's pirates. When I go out on the water, I don't feel like I'm seeing any opposition other than, I don't know, it feels artificial, I suppose, in a way. It feels fake. It's a game. It is fake, but it feels like it lacks the depth that I really want from a pirate game. That pirate feeling comes from the fact that you feel like you're doing something that you shouldn't. And Sea of Thieves is encouraging you to, and the world encourages you to be a pirate. Sid Meier's Pirates fights against that. I mean, obviously it rewards you for being a pirate, but the world itself, they don't want pirates, you know? And I feel like that's really fun. And I think that's what is missing from a lot of those from Sea of Thieves. And admittedly, there's not really any other pirate games that I can talk about because I don't know of a whole bunch that have bothered to try and capture that broad scale and scope of things. I know that there are games, I just haven't played them all. And I will briefly touch on Assassin's Creed Black Flag and say probably my favorite Assassin's Creed game. I've fallen off the Assassin's Creed bandwagon like everyone else. I haven't played, I don't know, I haven't enjoyed an Assassin's Creed game since Syndicate. I liked Syndicate, I liked Unity, I liked Black Flag, that's about it. I thought 2 was overrated, by the way. I don't think it's a great game. But anyway, that's something else. But Black Flag, I think, the one thing, no, the 2 things from Black Flag that I like the most that I want a pirate game to have. Number 1 is the whaling and like the shark hunting. That was sick, and every pirate game should have something like that. It was so much fun. You get in a little boat off of your big boat. You get in a tiny little boat and you harpoon these sharks and dolphins and whales, right? And then you chase them over the water, and it's like this high speed, high octane like fishing mini game, and it's so much fun. And then also the other thing that I think was awesome and underutilized was the diving bell missions in Black Flag. If you're not familiar with the diving bell, what it was is a real thing in history. Is there was a giant bell that, okay, you know when you were in a bath as a kid and you would take a cup and you put it in the water and there was like a little bubble of air in the cup, right? And if you let go, it would shoot up, or if you tilted it, the bubbles would come out, right? So same thing, same principle. You are lowering the off the side of a ship. They lower this giant bucket, overturned bell, diving bell. That's what it's called, and it has air trapped inside of it. And then the diver, the free diver, because they didn't have scuba gear or anything back then, would dive under the water, and when he needed air, he'd come up into the bell, breathe briefly, and then go back under. And so he could be lower in the water without having to come up all the way to the surface and get air. Obviously, it was finite. You start to use up all the oxygen in the bell, and then you got to come back up. But that was something that Black Flag did, and it was magical. It was such a cool little diving experience. I might be playing it up in my head, but I remember the first time I experienced it, I was like, this is so cool. I want every pirate game to have something like this. This is sick. Anyway, so this is turning into my longest video because I have a lot to say about this, I guess. Also, I went on a complete side tangent about live service games. But such is the nature of this channel. You hardly call it a channel. This is it's like a diary, like a journal for my brain. So I think ultimately my checklist for games for a pirate game, because someday I would love it if there was a pirate game. We're not even gonna bother to talk about Skull and Bones, Ubisoft Skull and Bones game, the first quadruple A game. My checklist, my wish list for a pirate game would be constituted thusly: put it in the Caribbean. I think that's sick. Maybe, you know what? Actually, it doesn't need to be real. That's fine. But I think the Caribbean's just the coolest, and everywhere it's just, I don't know, it's just the coolest. We'll scratch that off actually, because I don't actually necessarily think it needs to be in the Caribbean. It doesn't need to be a real place. I think that it does need to be a more interesting map than Sea of Thieves. I don't like how Sea of Thieves is just a bunch of tiny islands. I think more some continental stuff and all that would be really cool. But I think having a actual functioning system of an opposing force would be really important. Whether it's the British or some other or made up, fantasy nation that is trying to capture these pirates. Who are you? And you are the pirate, and you should be a pirate. That means you should be able to pillage and plunder and steal and raid. Those are the D. And you should be able to amass a crew of your own wish, of your own design. I think it would be sick if they found a way to mix in the XCOM 2 kind of system. XCOM 2 is a really cool strategy game where you have a team, and every member on that team is randomly generated, but they are named. They have a specific look and specific skills, and when they die in the game, they die for real. When they die in the game, when you're on a mission and you're working with this tight little squad, if Stewie gets blown up by an alien, then he's gone, and Stewie's gone, and that's rough. And you're gonna have to find someone to replace him, and he might not be as good as Stewie yet. And I think that'd be so much fun. Could you imagine if you're running your ship, and instead of it being, a ship full of nameless, faceless crew members, you find a way to have the bosun, and he's named, and you have the guy at the helm, and he's named, and someone in the crow's nest, and he's named, and some guy, the guy who runs who's the chef, and he runs the chef party, or the chef, the group of people who cook for the ship, and these people are all named, and they all have specific skills that you have invested in order to make your ship a top of the line pirate ship. And when they die, when you're attacked, when you're bombarded, or when someone gets jailed or hanged or something because you're pirates, and that's what is going to happen, it's a big deal because now you've lost that person that you've really invested time and energy into, and it's a bummer. It sucks. It's a total drag. I think that would be really fun. I think it would add a lot of stakes to it. It would add a lot of stakes to that sort of world, because it was a risky, dangerous, piratey world. I think that would be really compelling. I apologize if you can hear the lawnmower outside or the leaf blower. Hopefully you can't. I also think there's something else I wrote down. Did I write down? I hope I wrote it down. I did not. Whatever, it's fine. I think that having I was thinking about Sea of Thieves and my issue with it and how there was no progression, right? I am a sucker, and if I were a game designer, if I made games, I do design games, but if I made them, I would have a hard time not putting this in every single game that I make. I love it when there is a hub that you, as the main character and player, are building up slowly. It's the best thing ever. I love Bellheart in Silksong. I love the camp in Red Dead Redemption. Um, there's a whole bunch of others, but they elude my mind. But the point is, I love it when a game has a home base that you are trying to build up, and you invest in it over time, and it grows and it improves and it becomes more efficient and it helps you more. You know, you invest in it and it pays off. It's so much fun for me. I think it would be awesome if, you know, the progression of the game, other than upgrading your ship and building your crew, was that you were also building some sort of pirate haven, whether it's like a Tortuga type, you know, a Port Royal or Nassau, or however the heck you say that place, in Jamaica, or wherever that is. Is that Jamaica? Is Nassau Jamaica, or is it somewhere in the Bahamas? I don't know. Um, but the point is, I think that would be a really fun sort of progression based system. You know, that when you actually go out and pillage and plunder, you're not just doing it to accrue wealth meaninglessly. That was one of the things that Sid Meier's Pirates, I think, really struggles with, is you can get money real quick in that game. There's not all that much to spend it on. You don't buy property. You can upgrade your ship real fast, and it's not that expensive. You can uncover these like ancient Aztec or Mayan city. I can't remember if it was Aztec or Mayan. I think Aztec cities, and you get like thousands. I think I got like 100,000 gold, and I was like, what am I gonna spend this on? There's nothing to spend this on. So I just divided the plunder and gave all my crew their money, so they didn't mutiny against me. And then you have mutiny. There's another thing that would be really fun. You know, you have to keep the crew morale up. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of things, and I could get real into the nitty gritty of all of the different things that I think would make a pirate game really fun. Um, but I think at the end of it, I find myself wanting a more. I want a good pirate game, and I don't think we have one yet. I don't think we have a really good pirate game, and I know that it's difficult. I know that any sort of systematic game like that is extraordinarily tough to make. Games in general are just tough to make. It's a tall order to ask. Open world pirate game where there's like, you know, systems at play and opposing pirates and governments. Like, yeah, of course that's gonna be tricky, and you can find a way to trim the fat on that, I'm sure. But um, I still want it. I still selfishly want it as someone who loves pirates, who plays pirate games and wants better ones. I selfishly want it. Yeah, I'd love to hear people's thoughts. If anyone even got this far, it's almost a half-hour video. But I would love to hear people's thoughts on this, because it's such a near and dear thing to me. The Caribbean trilogy, the original trilogy, is like my favorite. The second movie, Dead Man's Chest, is like my favorite movie ever. I love that movie. It's so good. And so pirates are really near and dear to me. I've always loved them, but I just want more out of them. I think it is a untapped bit of gold that could be a truly tremendous game, and we just haven't seen it. And I just don't think we've gotten there yet. So anyway, that's it. That's my thoughts for the day. I'm going to eat lunch. Bye.